The biggest mistake that I've seen rebels make is they pitch their idea in terms of their own goals, as opposed to the organization's goals or the team's goals. Right? Not that effective to stand up and say, here's why this direction is going to make my job better. It's much more compelling if you can articulate a rationale for why this rebellious idea that you have will advance the team or will help the organization. And I think that's just a big perspective-taking challenge, right? To step outside of your own objectives and the things that you want to accomplish and ask, what are other people trying to achieve? What will make this organization more effective, and how can I couch my idea within that broader framework?
So we've just heard Adam Grant talk about one of the big problems that rebels at work or change agents run into. And one of their big failings is that they don't really understand an organization's culture. They haven't done a particularly good job of understanding how an organization works. So what I want to do for this segment is talk to you about the many things in an organization that a rebel at work, a change agent, needs to address, needs to explore. And I'm going to do it based on my experience at the CIA in disarming what I call disarming the CIA bureaucracy. So a lot of my stories will come from my government career, but I think they're generally applicable to bureaucracies and organizations, no matter what domain you're in. So the first big category that we want to talk about is that you have to discover how things really work. You know, an organization may have a wiring chart, there may be rules and regulations, but our experience is that there's a lot of stuff going on in an organization that people generally think of as an organization's culture that is very important to know and isn't necessarily obvious to a rebel at work. So let's take a second and let's listen to what Adam Grant has to say about an organization's culture, particularly how it's comprised.
It's useful to break down culture into a few different elements. Ed Schein at MIT created my favorite model, which says you have artifacts and practices, the most visible parts of the organization, you know, how things look and how things operate. Then you have values, which are basically those statements about what's important and what people show as important through their actions. And then you have basic underlying assumptions, the taken for granted habits of thinking and acting that are so ingrained that people don't even necessarily realize that they have them, like a fish not knowing it's in water.
So Adam Grant talks about the three parts of an organization's culture. And what that suggests to me is that when you approach exploring or excavating the culture, and I chose that word very carefully, you are acting like an anthropologist. You're trying to figure out everything that's